From a fledgling colony on the edge of the world to a dominant global superpower, the United States of America's rise is a testament to the resilience, innovation, and struggle of its people. Today, we will explore how this once small and divided nation transformed into the most powerful country the world has ever seen. The story of America's rise begins in 1776, when 13 British colonies on the eastern seaboard of North America declared their independence. It was a time of profound discontent. The American colonies had grown tired of being ruled by a distant king, and the growing desire for self-determination reached a boiling point. The Declaration of Independence, written by Thomas Jefferson, laid the ideological foundation for a new nation. The famous words, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal," still resonate today. But the road to independence was far from easy. The American Revolution, fought from 1775 to 1783, was a long and bloody struggle. Against all odds, a ragtag army led by General George Washington faced off against the might of the British Empire. After years of sacrifice, the victory at the Battle of Yorktown, with crucial French assistance, marked the end of British rule in America. The Treaty of Paris in 1783 officially recognized the United States as a free nation. But this newfound freedom brought new challenges, creating a government that would unite a fractured land of diverse colonies. The Articles of Confederation failed to provide the strength needed to hold the country together. The country faced economic instability, and threats from foreign powers loomed large. By the mid-1800s, the United States was once again on the brink of division. The issue of slavery had torn the nation apart, particularly between the northern and southern states. The deeply entrenched institution of slavery in the South collided with the growing abolitionist movement in the North. Tensions mounted, and in 1861, the Civil War broke out. During the next 4 years, the United States was plunged into its bloodiest conflict. Over 600,000 Americans lost their lives, and the war's outcome would determine the fate of the Union and the institution of slavery. In 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing enslaved people in the southern states, and in 1865, the Union emerged victorious. The passage of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments abolished slavery, granted citizenship, and extended voting rights to Black Americans. The Civil War left deep scars on the nation, but it also laid the groundwork for a new, more unified United States. The Reconstruction era that followed aimed to rebuild the South and integrate newly freed Black Americans into society, but the path to true equality would be long and difficult. Following the Civil War, the United States embarked on an era of rapid industrialization and territorial expansion. The frontier, once seen as an untamed wilderness, was now the site of conflict and settlement. The completion of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869 connected the East Coast with the West Coast, opening new economic opportunities and facilitating the movement of people and goods. The Industrial Revolution transformed the nation's economy. Massive factories, steel mills, and oil refineries began to dominate cities, and the country's infrastructure expanded at an unprecedented rate. By the turn of the 20th century, the U.S. was an industrial powerhouse. Industrial magnates like Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, and J.P. Morgan amassed enormous wealth and power. But this rapid growth also came with significant challenges: grueling labor conditions, child labor, and widespread inequality. The labor movement grew in strength during this period, as workers fought for better wages, hours, and working conditions. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, labor strikes, protests, and the rise of unions marked a shift in the nation's labor policies and the recognition of workers' rights. By the early 20th century, the United States had moved beyond its isolationist roots. The country's growing industrial and military power set the stage for its involvement in global affairs. In 1917, the United States entered World War I, tipping the scales in favor of the Allies. Though the war ended in 1918, the consequences of the conflict would reverberate for decades. The post-war years ushered in an era of prosperity known as the Roaring Twenties. The stock market soared, consumer culture thrived, and jazz music became the soundtrack of a new, modern America. Yet, beneath the surface of this economic boom, there were growing economic disparities, and an economic collapse loomed just around the corner. In 1929, the stock market crash plunged the United States into the Great Depression. The country's financial system collapsed, millions lost their jobs, and poverty reached unprecedented levels. The American people faced one of their darkest hours. But in the face of adversity, America found strength. President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal programs brought reforms that reshaped the country's economy and society. Public works programs, Social Security, and banking reforms helped stabilize the economy and restore hope. In 1941, America entered World War II after the attack on Pearl Harbor. The war mobilized the nation's industries, and the U.S. quickly became the arsenal of the Allied powers. By 1945, the war had ended, and the U.S. emerged as the undisputed global leader. The development of the atomic bomb, dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, marked the beginning of a new era in warfare and global politics. America had not only helped defeat the Axis powers, but had also become the dominant military and economic force in the world. With the end of World War II, the United States found itself locked in a fierce ideological battle with the Soviet Union. The Cold War that followed would define much of the 20th century. The U.S. led the fight against the spread of communism, supporting anti-Soviet regimes and organizations around the world. From the Korean War to the Cuban Missile Crisis, America found itself in constant conflict with the Soviet bloc. But it wasn't all war and diplomacy. In 1969, the United States achieved the unthinkable, landing a man on the moon. The Apollo 11 mission symbolized America's technological prowess and determination to lead the world into the future. By the 21st century, the United States had firmly established itself as a superpower, leading the world in military, economic, and cultural influence. The end of the Cold War saw the collapse of the Soviet Union, and the U.S. emerged as the undisputed global leader. The country's influence can be felt across the world, from Silicon Valley's tech revolution to Hollywood's global entertainment empire. But America's journey has not been without its challenges. Issues like economic inequality, racial tensions, and political polarization remain at the forefront of national debates. Yet, despite these struggles, the United States continues to shape the course of history. From its humble beginnings to its rise as a global superpower, the United States story is one of extraordinary resilience and transformation. The journey is far from over, and the future of this great nation will continue to be shaped by the choices of its people. The United States may have been born out of struggle, but it thrives on the hope and vision of its people, a vision that continues to inspire the world.